Myron J. Francis Elementary School, East Providence, Rhode Island. Library Media Specialist, Suzanne Jordan. Observed by Natasha White, September 21st, 2017. When I initially spoke with Mrs. Jordan and asked if I could come in to observe her, she let me know that on the day I needed to observe her, she would be meeting with the other elementary school librarians from her district for a common planning time. After letting me know that I was more than welcome to come and sit in on it, I was extremely excited to be joining such a collaboration. My district does not offer such an opportunity for librarians to come together within the school day and meet. When I came into the common planning for the East Providence librarians at East Providence City Hall, I was greeted with a warm welcome and immediately felt proud to be a librarian. There were 5 librarians present. The meeting started by letting me know this was the first meeting they had of this type for elementary and only once a month. They used to meet after school once a month and actually preferred that. I felt as though this group reminded me of a version of most collaborative groups I've been a part of, where you have the fresh ideas and outlook and pushing for excellence, enter Suzanne Jordan, along with the more jaded, cynical, yet still supportive and helpful other participants. One of the librarians explained to me that she feels as though the itinerants are viewed as bottom feeders and not valued professionals, even though they are evaluated as teachers. This process helped me again remember the grass is not always greener on the other side, and I need to continue to be an advocate for the things I believe in. They shared strategies and ideas in a somewhat informal setting. By this I mean there was no agenda I was aware of, yet they all knew that I would be joining them via an email, and they knew they were starting their focus on SLOs. The reason I felt as though it was a bit informal was due to the fact that they went off topic to support each other with suggestions and ideas. They discussed classroom management strategies, which again reminded me of how fortunate I am to have already been a classroom teacher and have had that background about how to implement strategies. For example, they were discussing how fidgets don't work in the library. As a classroom teacher, I know that fidgets need to be taught into as a tool and not a toy. That is a whole process that as librarians, I can see why you would not have time to teach into or be aware of the classroom teacher's expectations with a tool like this. They started discussing SLOs and looked at them on the RIDE website along with shared their past ones. They were super reflective about their SLOs. One teacher librarian discussed how she didn't like her last SLO because she felt like she was just hoping that they would click the correct button on the multiple choice questions without really knowing if they understood the concept. This year, she plans on doing an interview-style second grade SLO to show the growth. Her second SLO will be in an interview style with a rubric at the end based on a 4th grade project, Fact or Fiction podcast using a digital tool. They looked at the examples and asked each other how they interpret the language. They were respectful and professional with the use of their time and sharing of ideas. They discussed shelving issues, common sense media digital citizenship. The long-term sub talked about how to support a student with special needs, and the librarians gave suggestions and feedback. I was surprised that they didn't let their kindergarten and 1st grade students check out a book to bring home, but only to the classroom. I feel as though I witnessed all 5 of the roles of a librarian in some way or another during this 2.5-hour block when I was with them. As a teacher, they were teaching each other about what works for them, what struggles they face, and how to support their students and teachers. This is a visual of Mrs. Jordan's webpage. Here you can see that she is teaching research topics to her students. In fact, the lesson I was going to observe today was based on the hurricane. She was then taking her students in to make clay models using Play-Doh of a storm surge and what that would look like. I let her know I can't wait to find pictures on her website showing this piece. As leaders, they each took turns leading the discussion. It felt like a shared leadership model was in place. They gave each other suggestions about how to advocate for themselves to get more time for collection work, shelving, weeding, ordering, repairing, etc. They gave each other language to use with administrators about acknowledging their concerns while explaining the need for certain things, i.e. books, use of space, lack of time for maintaining the library. They really showed how collaboration can work and how they can step forward to be advocates for the profession and for their teachers and students. As program administrator, they discussed shelving, ordering of supplies, how to get funding for collection development at different levels, and a range of technology tools to push for. Example, they talked about how they're using typing.com and how to get funding for that. Another librarian explained how her PTO doesn't give the funds for the Scholastic Book Fair, but she was yet again going to try this year. They talked about contacting RI Link and Dorothy to get different labels so that they can process their new books. Through all of this, they talked about their budgets and how to get more money for their collection by advocating for themselves. As instructional partners, they discussed how to speak to the classroom teachers about projects, about concerns with individual students, about different ways to support the teachers, individual students, and the classrooms as a whole. They discussed where they make time to do this and how it can also be a struggle. They did not just talk about the negatives and what they couldn't do, but they came up with solutions to how to support themselves in being instructional partners, instead of focusing on the fact that their time is extremely limited. As information specialists, they discussed using digital citizens lessons through common sense media, how to utilize technology in a meaningful way in their class time, yet not allowing it just to become all devices, really teaching into it. And they also talked about how to access Destiny Quest for the students. This is a screenshot of, again, Mrs. Jordan's library page, where she has digital tools for teachers easily accessible. So she is already using these and curating a list saying, here you go, here's what you can use, so that even though her time as an instructional partner is limited, she is still showing where she is able to support the teachers. All in all, I felt extremely impressed with the management of their time and their role as they helped each other, supported each other, listened to each other, collaborated, and even curated a list of SLOs that they felt would be acceptable to use. I felt as though this was an incredible opportunity for me to see librarians at work together, collaborating, curating, and fostering a love for learning within their own community.